The life and sad ending of Guy Clark. Guy Clark was born Guy Charles Clark on November 6, 1941, in Monahans, Texas. His family moved to Rockport, Texas in 1954. When Guy was a little boy in West Texas, his family didn't own a record player and instead spent their evenings reading poetry aloud to each other, seated around the kitchen table. "I always liked the storytelling poets," he recalled, like Vachel Lindsay and Stephen Vincent Benet. Clark got his first guitar in 1958 after his family moved to South Texas, and the first songs he learned were in Spanish, inspired by his father's law partner, Lola Bonner. After he graduated from high school in 1960, Guy spent almost a decade living in Houston as part of the folk music revival in that city. His wife Susanna Clark and he eventually settled in Nashville, where he helped create the Americana music genre, where he sang as part of the folk music revival of the 1960s and repaired guitars with his friend, Minor Wilson, for extra cash. In Houston, he met Van Zandt and their friendship was immediate. Townes' compositions inspired Guy to try his hand at writing and the two encouraged each other, listening to recordings of poet Dylan Thomas for inspiration. After brief stints in San Francisco and Los Angeles, all the while honing his songwriting skills, Guy left with Susanna for Nashville and a job with RCA's publishing division, writing songs. Van Zandt followed shortly thereafter. He had one son, Travis Carroll Clark, from his first marriage to folk singer Susan Spaw. On May 17, 2016, Guy Clark is indispensable for music lovers, was an American folk and country singer-songwriter and luthier. His songs LA Freeway and Desperados Waiting for a Train helped launch his career and were covered by numerous performers, including Steve Earle and Brian Jones. On his passing, the New York Times described him as a king of the Texas troubadours, declaring his body of work as indelible as that of anyone working in the Americana idiom in the last decades of the 20th century. Clark had been a mentor to such other singers as Steve Earle and Rodney Crowell. He organized Earle's first job as a writer in Nashville. In the 1970s, the Clarks' home in Nashville was an open house for songwriters and musicians, and it features in the film Heartworn Highways, an evocation of the songwriter scene in Nashville at that time. Songwriter, singer, and musician Guy Clark has been called the King of the Texas Troubadours. When he moved to Nashville with his wife Susanna in 1971, he became the center of a scene that would ultimately include Rodney Crowell, Emmylou Harris, Rosanne Cash, and Townes Van Zandt. His time in Los Angeles, spent working at a Dobro factory and hoping for a publishing deal, inspired his song, LA Freeway, first recorded by Jerry Jeff Walker in 1972. Clark credits Townes Van Zandt as being a major influence on his songwriting. One of the most famous photos in country music history was taken on Clark's porch in 1972 of Clark, wife Susanna, Van Zandt, and Daniel Antopolsky by photographer Al Clayton. The song spoke poignantly to the frustration artists experience in the big city, striving to make their dreams a reality, and was Guy's first hit. Others followed. Texas, 1947, Randall Knife, Desperados Waiting for a Train. Like-minded songwriters who gathered in his home to share food, drink, and new songs. Clark's distinct, nonconformist style, like those of the artists who surrounded him, would stretch the boundaries of country music in the 1970s and influence a generation of songwriters. He played guitar and sang Mexican songs, mariachi, and South Texas music. And I was just captivated by it. I thought, wow, I want to do that. Do you know? So, I went to Mexico and bought a $12 guitar and started trying to learn how to play it. I was just eaten up with it. I couldn't let go of it. It was fascinating and mysterious, at the same time. Numerous artists have charted with Clark penned tunes. The Last Gunfighter Ballad was the title song of Johnny Cash's 1977 studio album. In 1982, Bobby Bare made it to the country top 20 with Clark's New Cut Road. That same year, bluegrass leader Ricky Skaggs hit #1 with Clark's Heartbroke, a song that permanently established his reputation as an ingenious songwriter. The following year, Guy landed on the charts himself with self-penned Homegrown Tomatoes. Among the many others who have covered Clark's songs are Vince Gill, who took Oklahoma Borderline to the top 10 in 1985, The Highwaymen, who introduced Desperado's Waiting for a Train to a new generation that same year, John Conley, whose interpretation of The Carpenter rode into the top 10 in 1987, and John Denver, who recorded Clark's Homegrown Tomatoes in 1988. Clark is frequently referred to as the Fifth Highwayman. Clark was a mentor to aspiring artists and songwriters, including Crowell, Lyle Lovett, Rosanne Cash, and Steve Earle, and has been credited with helping create the Americana music genre. Steve Wariner took his cover of Clark's Baby I Am Yours to #1 in 1988. Asleep at the Wheel charted with Clark's Blowin' Like a Bandit the same year. Crowell was Clark's co-writer on She's Crazy for Leavin', which in 1989 became the third of 5 straight #1 hits for Crowell. In 1995, he recorded a live album with Van Zandt and Steve Earle, together at the Bluebird Cafe, which was released in October 2001. Clark and Van Zandt were best friends for many years until Van Zandt's death in 1997, and Clark has included a Van Zandt composition on most of his albums. Brad Paisley and Alan Jackson covered Clark's Out in the Parkin' Lot, co-written with Daryl Scott, on Paisley's Time Well Wasted CD. Jimmy Buffett, obviously influenced by Jerry Jeff Walker's earlier quality cover of Boats to build on 1997's Cowboy Boots and Bathin' Suits, then covered Clark's Boats to build and Cinco de Mayo in Memphis. He was inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2004. Guy Clark won the 2005 Americana Lifetime Achievement Award for Songwriter. In 2006, Clark released Workbench Songs. The album was nominated for Best Contemporary Folk Americana Album at the Grammy Awards. He also toured with Lyle Lovett, Joe Ely, and John Hyatt in 2004, 2005, and 2007. In May 2008, Clark canceled 4 concerts after breaking his leg. After 2 months on crutches, he began to perform again on July 4 at the Smithsonian Folklife Festival in Washington, D.C., where he appeared with Verlin Thompson. On June 20, 2009, Clark announced a new album titled Somedays the Song Writes You, which was released on September 22, 2009. It features originals along with a Townes Van Zandt song titled If I Needed You. In December 2011, This One's for Him, a tribute to Guy Clark, was released by Icehouse Music and produced by longtime fan Tamara Saviano. The CD won Americana Album of the Year at the 2012 Americana Music Honors and Awards. The 2013 Academy of Country Music's Poets Award. Clark won the Grammy Award for Best Folk Album in 2014 for My Favorite Picture of You. The final song that Clark completed was co-written with Angelina Presley entitled Cheer Up Little Darling. It appeared on Presley's 2017 album Wrangled. Texas country singer-songwriter Aaron Watson paid tribute to Clark in his song entitled Ghost of Guy Clark, released in June 2019. In the song, Clark's ghost asks the protagonist to perform a song and is unimpressed. He then encourages the performer to write songs with greater passion. On May 17, 2016, Clark died in Nashville following a lengthy battle with lymphoma. As a great loss for us, what he did will be the nostalgia of the children of country music.